Narecover ng mga otoridad ang 11 kilo ng shabu mula sa pinaniniwalaang kuta ng Maute sa Marawi City. Ayon kay Armed Forces of the Philippines spokesperson Brigadier General Restituto Padilla, posibleng gumagamit ng ipinagpapawal na gamot ang mga terorista para manatiling gising sa gabi at hindi makaramdam ng pagod. Patuloy pa ang paghahalughog ng puwersa ng pamahalaan sa lugar sa Marawi City. Nananatili sa 4 na barangay ang itinuturing nilang problematic areas. Noong nakalipas na taon, nang mapasok ng mga otoridad ang Butig Lanao del Sur na una ng kinubkob ng Maute, ay nakakuha din ng mga ito ng shabu. At yan po naman ang aming mga nakalap na balita at impormasyon para sa PTV Newsbreak. Ako po si Audrey Goriseta.
On the same day, the government reciprocated the National Democratic Front's declaration to refrain from undertaking offensive operations in Mindanao. Although the attack was not in Mindanao, the act was opportunistic in nature and disregards the nature of the NDF declaration. We ask the NDF to call on their armed comrades on the ground to walk the talk and to show genuine sincerity on the confidence-building measure initiated by the government and their side. Part of the statement released by Presidential Peace Advisor Jess Dureza regarding the recent attacks, the last paragraph says, the impact is not just on the peace negotiations, it illustrates the tragedy of the insurgency. Hopefully, the attack is just part of the birth pains of the agreement to stop offensive military actions, even if it covers only Mindanao as of now. It is an argument for a nationwide ceasefire. End of statement. We defer to General Padilla, please.
Good morning, members of the Malacanang Press Corps and all others monitoring. As was already announced, one significant development from Joint Task Force Marawi AOR was the discovery of 11 kilos of high-grade or first-grade shabu. The presentation of these items that were taken from clearing operations in a certain part of Marawi, name I cannot disclose, will be done at about 12:30 to 1 o'clock this afternoon at the headquarters of Joint Task Force Marawi in Marawi itself. And the elements who were involved in the clearing operations that led to the discovery of this sizable amount of illegal substance will be present to answer questions from the media regarding the nature of their operation. So may I give that advisory to all our friends from the media who are there and who may be able to facilitate their connection to have their people cover that for a complete background of the clearing operations yesterday that led to this discovery. And last weekend, we didn't have any update report, and you may have other figures discovered or passed on to you, but we would just like to highlight that last Saturday, our troops on Ground Zero were able to seize a sizable arms cache from the area of operation, and the number of firearms numbering more than 20, if I recall. And these are not ordinary firearms, but high-powered firearms. Last week, during the visit of the Secretary of National Defense and the National Security Advisor, plus other members of the Cabinet, the firearms were presented to them. And may I request look at those pictures. So you may not be aware of the nature of the confiscated firearms. These are among the firearms that have been confiscated, and they are not ordinary firearms at all, but high-powered firearms that can fire from afar, hit targets, and destroy them. And this is indicative of the length of planning that went to this operation of these rebels when they were able to get this number of firearms and bring it to the area of operations over a period of time. Besides this, other war materials that have been confiscated are IEDs and other explosives that the amount of which are also significantly high. They are also using combustible materials like fuel or gasoline to burn many of the areas that they leave behind when government forces captured these areas where they have been staying. To date also, as we continue to get the vantage points that have been held by these terrorists, the discovery or the recovery of cadavers beside firearms and arms caches and equipment are ongoing. And this is why the high number of confirmed enemy killed continues to grow because of this continued discovery. I am now open to answer any questions you may have.
MPC, Maricel Halili, TV5.
Hi, sir. Good morning. Sir, just a clarification on the arrested members of Maute Group during the weekend. Meron po kasing reports sa sinasabi na kapatid daw ng Maute brothers yung babae na na-arrest, pero may reports clarifying na hindi. So ano po ba talaga yung connection?
We have already sought clarification and we have not received the answer yet. That's why I did not take it up in the significant development. The identity or exact relationship is still being established, and until such time that we don't get the categorical answer from the field, we could not include it in the report.
Pero ano po yung circumstances when the 3 individuals were arrested? I understand at near Iloilo Port.
Well, they left port and boarded based on the report in Cagayan de Oro, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in the area of Iligan. And the advisory was sent by the Coast Guard having seen them boarding, and it was then forwarded to the next port so that they could prepare and effect an arrest of the said individuals, and that was how it was made. This is in line with our effort to continue to guard the nearby cities of potential fleeing members of the group who may have gone through earlier in the cordon sanitaire that we have established. So this is just to ensure that many of those who may have gone through these checkpoints earlier during the first week of fighting do not hide in other areas out of Mindanao.
So as of now, sir, hindi pa malinaw kung
Wala
anong
pa.
participation
We'll wait
nila.
for that final report before we can fully say the relationship.
Sir, panghuli na lang po on my part. What are the chances na nakarating na rin doon sa may Iloilo area or sa Visayas area yung ilang members ng Maute?
Kaya nga po binabantayan natin yung mga port. So ito pa lang yung unang pagkakataon na may ganito tayong report, and based on the initial monitoring, there was nothing similar to this previously.
Okay, Hannah Sancho.
Morning, Sir. Hannah Sancho, Kaya Sir, itatanong ko lang po, sir. May news report na kinote ng Pangulo na nagsusupply po ng firearms ng MILF at MNLF sa Maute Group.
Itong mga firearms na mga ring nandyan ngayon sa loob ng Marawi, potentially noong araw pa at matagal ng panahon. Some of the members of the Maute Group may have relatives in other groups or armed groups. There are so many armed groups in Mindanao that could potentially be a source of firearm for this group. And that is why there needs to be an effort to get all these loose firearms that are held by private armed groups and other illegal armed groups that are operating, such as this terrorist group. And this is a cause for concern that has been there since a long time ago and has been addressed many times over but unsuccessfully. And we hope that during this period of martial law, we can successfully cover this and get rid or confiscate all these loose firearms that are there.
Yusek Abella, dun sa statement po ng Pangulo, maapektuhan po ba yung peace process natin sa MILF, MNLF?
Statement ng alin?
Na-mention, dun sa news report na sinasabi po kasi na yung MILF and MNLF nagsusupply ng mga firearms. Yung, kaya nag-imbak yung Maute group sa Marawi po ng mga firearms. Dahil daw dun sa peace process, kaya soft daw yung government. So, with this the statement po, ano pong strategy ng Pangulo ng pamahalaan na ongoing po yung peace process natin kung ipagpapatuloy pa rin po nila yung pagbebenta, pagsusupply po ng firearms sa mga rebel groups sa Mindanao po?
I think it was clarified by General Padilla that this was in the past. No, this is
Yes, sir.
It's not a current thing that's happening. Okay, so it will not affect the peace talks. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Pia Reñada.
For General Padilla, sir, on Saturday, the President was saying that he was threatening that if he had to declare martial law again after the Supreme Court decides to lift it, then it could be a copycat of Marcos. He was talking about a second martial law regime. But the military has always been saying that there would be no human rights abuses for this martial law, that it's very different from the time of Marcos. But then we have the President threatening again that it would be similar to Marcos' time. What does the military think of these kinds of statements?
Well, definitely, the President will not be referring to abuses. He may refer to the breadth and the depth of how to impose it, but I guess it's not because of the abuses. You can see how the military is implementing martial law now. It's complete regard for human rights and IHL and the other protocols that have been established. So if there are any complaints, we're open to receiving those complaints and acting on it immediately. And that is also one of the instructions of the President previously that you also may have heard, that he must ensure we are able to protect and save lives. After all, in the pronouncement and declaration of martial law, di ba sinabi niya, if you are a law-abiding citizen and you're a peace-loving citizen, martial law is not a problem that you should worry about, because martial law is intended for the lawless elements and the rebels that are around. So wasn't that clear enough? And the AFP will always guarantee the safety of each citizen who are doing the right things and not the wrong things and not breaking the law.
So, sir, you heard it specifically from the President that he gave instructions or statements to the military saying that when he threatened yung copycat of martial law, he actually meant the breadth and depth. That's what he meant. He explained this to the military?
No, he did not. That's why, the nature of the question and answer that transpired in Butuan was of an extent that nagkakabiruan na eh. Remember when he was asked, sabi nyo, nakakoma ako. Pero nagkamali yata kayo sa spelling dahil ang totoo, nasa kama lang ako, nakahiga. So, the nature of the exchange between the media and the President was light enough that shouldn't be reflected or translated otherwise. So by that nature alone, alam mo, yung banter was light. So he could not have meant that abuses and all about martial law. He may have been very serious about tackling and dealing with the problems at hand, and one of the solutions could be martial law, but not in the extent of the abuses. And we can be sure of that because of the previous guidance that he has already given.
Okay, thank you. Dexter Ganibe to be followed by Ina Andalong.
Hi, Sec. Hi, General. Good morning. Sir,
Yes, Dex.
yung bank accounts para dun sa
Yes.
tulong para sa families and dun sa mga evacuees.
Opo.
Last week lang po ito na open, sir. Ano?
Opo, nabuksan po itong mga bank accounts na ito, mga bagong bank accounts po ito dahil nakatanggap po kami ng napakaraming hiling or kagustuhan ng mga pribadong mamamayan at ng mga kumpanya na magbigay ng tulong para sa mga nasawi nating sundalo at yung mga pamilyang iniwan nila. Ngayon, hindi po paaring gamitan ng ibang bank account ito na other than a new one. So, dumagsa na rin po ang tulong sa ating mga nasugatan sa ospital at nakiusap mismo yung commanding officer po ng Biluna, si General Torrella Vega, na unang-una, nag-request yung mga sundalo ng kanilang pwedeng gamitin sa kanilang personal necessities. Kaya bumaha na po ng tabo doon at saka mga pajama at iba pang kagamitan. So, they have more than enough for their personal necessities right now. And that's why the request was, if you wish to help and donate, you can just do it in cash so that we can provide it to the families of our heroes, as well as provide directly to the wounded. You may visit our wounded, by the way. We're open to having our citizens come over and lift up their spirits, and you just have to coordinate with our personnel at Viluna. They would appreciate your visit, and it may be better if you ask them what they would really appreciate rather than bringing something that may be over and above already what they have been getting.
Sir, mga ilan na po yung mga na-transfer na mga wounded soldiers?
Noong nakaraang linggo, yung bed capacity ng Cagayan de Oro sa Cagayan de Oro ay overfilled na. Nasa may mga daanan na yung mga sugatan natin. Pero nung naglipat tayo, meron na po tayong mga 80 yata o 60 dito sa Viluna na mga critical care at saka recovering. And many of the wounded, by the way, just for the information of everybody, those who have been slightly wounded were determined to go back to the field. They have requested their doctors attending to them to release them immediately from the hospital. And we have about close to 50 of our own soldiers who have, by their insistent demand, the doctors consented and allowed them to return back. They wanted to be with their units to continue the fight, finish it, and once and for all liberate Marawi. So isn't that enough indication of the morale of our troops and their desire to serve our people?
Sir, last na lang on my part. May bank account din para dun sa mga internally displaced?
Meron po.
IDPs.
Yung pangalawang account na ipinakita po natin, intended po yan sa mga kapatid nating Maranao na naapektuhan ng kaguluhang ito. So, both ways, you may want to help soldiers' families left behind directly. Use the first account. And for those who are suffering from the effects of this conflict, the second account will do. We will turn this over to the necessary local government entities who will facilitate their turnover to our own Maranao brothers and sisters.
It doesn't mean naman, sir, na kapos na sa budget ang pamahalaan?
Hindi po. Hindi po. That does not reflect that we are not giving the appropriate support to our wounded and our heroes. On the contrary, ito pong binibigay niyong tulong is over and above yun sa ibibigay ng ating pamahalaan at ng ating armed forces. At kaya nga po kami nagpapasalamat dahil natutuwa po yung mga kasundaluhan natin sa yung buhos ng suporta sa kanila. Kanya't nang nakukuha yung balik, yung tunay na serbisyo, kagustuhan bumalik at tapusin itong laban para ipakita natin na once and for all, libre na po itong Marawi.
Kay Secretary Abella, sir, yung nakuhang 11 kilograms na shabu kahapon sa Marawi, ito na pa yung yung kasama na to doon sa laging binabanggit ng Pangulo na ito yung nag-fuel doon sa movement ng Maute.
We assume that that is so. Galing siya sa Marawi itself. Except that we cannot reveal the exact location kung saan galing.
Sir, yung binabanggit yun na regular na magbibigay ng update dun sa kung magkano ng laman ng bank accounts, mangyayari ba yan sa Mindanao Hour Briefing?
We'll have a transparency mechanism here. Kaya nga po mayroong tao po tayong na-identify, si Lieutenant Commander
Rose
Abud. Siya po talaga mga laga niyan. Kaya kung may nagde-deposito po, pakitext po sa kanya yung pangalan nyo kung nais nyo kayong ma-recognize or anonymously kung ayaw nyo pong mapangalanan at yung amount at yung deposit reference nyo para na-account natin.
Perhaps it's also important to just inform the people that even if you don't submit your name, ipakilagay lang po yung transaction number para alam na may pumasok. Mahalaga po yun so that na-update whether or not you want to be acknowledged.
Okay, thank you, Dexter. Ina Andulong?
Yusek Abella, sir.
Yes,
Hi. This is a follow-up to Pia's question. So what did the President mean, can you clarify to us, when he said that if he
will declare martial law a second time, it may be a copycat of Marcos. Was he joking?
No,
or
it's,
was it made in a light,
jest.
or it made in jest, as what General Padilla said?
I would assume that's, I would assume first that the way General Padilla explained it is that, first and foremost, it does not include at all references any human rights abuse. For example, I think we need to take note of the fact that CHR just came out with a statement that there have been no human rights abuses. So I think we should take that in context. And I agree with what the General has said, that the President was talking about the length and breadth and the depth of the efforts to be placed through martial law, especially because his first and last consideration regarding ML is public safety.
Okay. No, another one. Over the weekend, also, President Duterte said that he will withdraw troops if the Supreme Court rules that there's no basis for martial law. Will that be really the case? Because as General Padilla also said a few days ago, hindi naman po daw kailangan matigil yung mismong offensives even if martial law is lifted.
So the President has made his position clear. If necessary, he will.
But again,
but efforts will continue.
yeah, he said troops will be withdrawn if Supreme Court decides na hindi nga valid yung martial law. But that does not actually stop naman po military offensive, right, Sir General Padilla? Because you mentioned it may directly affect particularly the arrests. But
Offensives will continue because there's a threat that's being faced. And it would be foolhardy to stop the fight because the martial law was lifted. So there's a threat to public safety, tuloy pa rin po. But the fight becomes increasingly hard because you cannot effect certain moves that will facilitate the taking care of some threats that are looming somewhere. So you need to line up for a search warrant, you need to get an arrest order, and if the courts don't issue them as quickly as they should, then naantala yung gagawin mong mga operasyon. At the course of time between effecting the arrest and the search and possibly neutralizing a potential threat will become longer and opening up the possibility of escape. So they will keep on being at large and being a threat to public safety.
Okay. So bakit po sinabi ni Presidente Yusek Abella that he will withdraw troops if offensives will continue anyway?
I think the good general just explained it. They will withdraw from, for example, exercising the arrests without
Arrest,
warrant.
yeah. Siguro yung distribution ng tropa hindi ganun kasing lawak. Kasi yun nga, hindi na kailangan dahil may hindrances na ng pagkawala ng martial law. We will turn it over to the civilian side of law enforcement, and that means to say the police or even the local government. So your military will pull back a little bit
From certain actions.
So hihina yung galaw natin.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ina. Ace Romero, Philippine Star.
Yusek Abella, you mentioned in your statement yesterday that the President's statement that he would pull out the troops from Marawi if ordered by the Supreme Court indicates that he respects rule of law and the independence of judiciary. But he also said that once he declared martial law, he will do it his way and he'll no longer listen to anyone else. Hindi ba magka-kontra yung
Hindi ba sinabi niya that if public safety is jeopardized, then he will reimpose. Tama?
But yung sinabi niya na I won't listen to anyone else and I'll do it my way, what does he mean by that?
He simply means to say that he will go by, he doesn't mean to say he will not go by the force of law. He will still do that, except that he will go by his lights, his perception of whether public safety is jeopardized or not.
So he will still listen to the courts kung sakali magkaroon ng second.
At the end of the day, yes. On the other hand, he will still have to exercise his own judgments.
Thank you, Yusek.
Okay, last two questions. Bencito, Manila Standard, to be followed by Ian and Philip about martial law.
Hi, General Padilla. Good morning.
Yeah.
Sir, last Saturday, nagpa-meeting po si ARM Governor Mujib Hataman sa Lana del Sur Mayors. He was he told them na local government should prepare for possible terror attacks by the Marawi within Lanao del Sur. Sir, have we monitored such possible movements by the Maute?
So far, we have not had walang monitor na significant development as a cause for alarm. But this thing I can tell you, the enemy we face right now is a different breed. And with the presence of foreign fighters in the area, a matter that we're trying to validate and prove based on whatever we recover from the field, is part of that continuing concern, because they bring something different than those from the local have been bringing. What I mean by that is the kind of terrorism that you have seen elsewhere in the world and attributed to this group that is in the Middle East and suffering setbacks is something that is foreign to us at the moment, because our local terrorist groups have not practiced it. But if we do not work as a nation and band together to fight it, the threat might increase. And that is why we appreciate the move of Governor Hataman to inform and educate the local executives to be prepared to fight this. Because we have to draw the line. As we have said last week, this is already a fight between good and evil, and the evil is looming in these areas. And if we give it a chance to grow and take hold of certain parts of our country, it might be harder to get them out. But if we work together as one nation, as one people, and unite, then it will be harder for them to take root, and we can eventually deal with them. Because these terrorists use low-cost, high-impact means to effect terror. They are practicing ultra-violent intimidations and are doing recruitment remotely through the internet and social media and what have you. And they have been very good at this because they're net savvy and net capable. That is why if you see this evolving, ang tina-target nila dito yung mga bata eh. And that is what we have to safely guard against with. So if we can strengthen our family, parents watching over the activities of their children so that they know what's going on whenever they're on the net, then that will be better. So we can immunize our children from potential works that are being done by these groups. So that and all is an indication of the big task at hand that remains in the hands of our authorities and in the hands of our society partners, who should work together with everyone in order to counter this.
Thank you, sir. For Spokes Abella po,
Yes.
sir, the President has mentioned he will be allotting a 50 billion trust fund for the education of soldiers' children. Sir, the President is saying that he has already found something na to fund the initial 20 billion. Saan po kaya kukunin to ni Presidente? Have we already identified this? Then, how can we earmark the additional 30 billion for the next 6 years, sir?
We don't have the exact sourcing that he has promised, but part of it should be his own special fund.
Special fund, sir?
As a
President special fund?
Pero siya, the assistance provided by the President to our soldiers who die comes from his special fund. He gives an outright amount of 250 to the families of the deceased or the heroes. And that is the initial cash that they use during their time of bereavement. Then what follows after is yung tulong na sa pamilya para matustusan yung pangangailangan nila pagkawala ng kanilang breadwinner.
Sir, yung special fund is from the budget of the Office of the President?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, JP. Ian, last 3 questions. Ian, Philip, and then Prince.
Good morning, sir. Sir, nabanggit mo, General Padilla, yung presence ng foreign jihadists. And just recently po, may mga naaresto sa Sandakan, two Indonesians and 1 Malaysian po, na bound daw sa Marawi. Kasi di ba may panawagan po ang ISIS na if they can go doon sa Iraq or sa Syria, sa Pilipinas sila. Ano po ang ginagawa natin para mahadlangan po ito?
Bilang kasagutan sa tanong mo, right at this very moment, ongoing na po yung launching ng trilateral agreement natin for patrols sa trilateral border areas ng Indonesia, yung Sabah area at saka itong sa atin sa Pilipinas. So, yung kasunduan po na yan na iliatag na lahat ng mga protocols at yung angkop na agreement ay napirmahan na. At ngayon yung launching ay pagpapatupad na lamang. So, bahagi yan ng pagpapatibay nitong ating mga lagusan at daanan ng mga nationals from the different countries that are involved in this partnership. So, hopefully, ma-address natin yung porous borders natin sa bagay na yan. Pagkakaroon ng mas maayos na pagpatrolya, unang-una para ma-prevent yung abduction at high sea, yung mga nangyayaring pagdukot. At more than that is the movement of personnel bound from one country to another who are fugitives of their own laws and seeking haven in these parts of these different countries, as well as providing assistance to the groups of jihadists in these areas.
General, yung sinasabi mo sa dagat yun, ano, pero yung na-cover ko dati sa Piagapao, sa Lanao del Sur, may mga nakuhang passport doon sa napatay na jihadist na foreign, na nung na-trace ng immigration natin, dumaan siya sa airport, nag-aeroplano ito from sa native land niya sa Indonesia, nagpunta ng Singapore, tapos nagpunta ng Manila, nagpunta ng Cagayan de Oro. So, gano'n na sila kagaling. Paano ginagawa natin doon?
Kaya kailangan din patibayin natin o palakasin natin yung ating procedures sa immigration. So, ito yung unang line of defense natin eh. Kaya nga noong nakaraang linggo, sinabi natin, minungkahin natin na kinakailangan siguro tingnan na mabuti yung Human Security Act para mas maging matibay yung mga pwedeng gawin para harangin yung pagpasok ng mga ganitong klaseng individual.
General Padilla, yung role po ng US, may nakikita po ba tayo na mas malaking role ng mga Amerikano? Kasi nababahala na rin po sila, no, na merong lumalaking ganitong kalawak yung impluensya ng ISIS sa Southeast Asia.
The best weapon among nations, yung mga magkakatulong sa mga bagay na ganito, is yung information sharing. So, hindi kinakailangan manghimasok sa bawat bansa at makialam because we're all sovereign nations. And in that manner, the best weapon we always rely on is these exchanges of information and information sharing about the movements of terrorists and what have you. And you can see this from previous instances that we have been helping each other. Take the case of the 9/11 incident. Yung impormasyon na yon, kaya nalaman na may mangyayaring ganun, nakuha rin natin sa mga impormasyong nakuha natin dito. At ganun din yung mga iba pang pangyayari na may mga advance warning dahil may nakukuha tayong impormasyon sa ibang lugar. Yung pagka-aresto ng 2 foreign terrorists kamakailan, galing impormasyon yan sa ibang network, ibang nation na concerned din sa nangyayari.
Last na po kay Yusek Abella. Sir, marami pa rin po nagtatanong sa kalusugan ng Pangulo. Nabanggit nga po niya, nagpahinga lang siya, pero ano po ang alam ng Malacanang tungkol sa kanyang kalusugan?
Ang alam po natin, naglalakad na siya. He's out there. And he has already met with the press. He has already met with a number of people. So let's go by that, okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Philip Tubesa, Inquirer.
Good morning, Sir. General Padilla.
Yes.
Sir, yung commitment po natin not to attack or launch attacks against the NPA, is it nationwide or sa Mindanao lang po?
For now, wala pa po tayong ganyang directive, but we defer to the formal peace panel we have to get instructions on what the position of government is. So whatever their instructions and guidance are, we will comply with it.
So wala pa pong directive from the peace
I
panel?
can read to you a statement.
Inaantay natin yung formal na state. Pero yung guidance po ay kinakailangan manggaling sa formal panel natin.
Would we stand by it despite the attacks sa Iloilo?
Can I just read the statement by, I'll just quote us, PA Jess Dureza. Since the latest statements of the National Democratic Front and the government to mutually refrain from taking offensive operations against each other cover only Mindanao, and since there is yet no mutually agreed bilateral ceasefire agreement in place nationwide, the NPA attack in Maasin, Iloilo, and elsewhere must be dealt with accordingly and decisively by the AFP and the PNP, with the cooperation of civilian agencies and the affected communities. Having said this, it's important to note that such attacks provide a negative impact in our mutual commitment with the NDF to provide the enabling environment conducive to the continuation of peace negotiations with them. Last paragraph. The impact is not just on the peace negotiations. It illustrates the tragedy of the insurgency. Hopefully, the attack is just part of the birth pains of the agreement to stop offensive military actions, even if it covers only Mindanao as of now. And the operative statement is, it is an argument for nationwide ceasefire.
So the commitment stays?
Yes.
Ay, sir, yung doon po sa patrols natin with Indonesia and Malaysia, does it mean that they would be allowed to enter our territory pag may hot pursuit operations sila?
Yeah,
And
in the
tayo rin
event
po.
of hot pursuit, pwede yung lumagpas sa pumasok sa territory habang hinahabol hanggat nakuha ng kabilang side yung paghabol at pag-akos dun sa hinahabol.
At tayo rin po. Pwede.
Gayon din tayo. Pag may hinahabol tayo, pwede tayong lumampas sa international waters papunta sa territory nila in pursuit of that threat.
Okay. Tapos sir, mag-isang buwan na po yung operations natin sa Marawi. I know you've said na hindi na tayo magbibigay ng deadlines, but do you think abot pa po ito ng 60 days?
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully not. Sinisikap natin matapos ito sa madaling panahon tulad ng sinasabi natin nito mga nakarang araw. Pero ang reality sa ground kasi, hindi mo pwedeng madaliin eh. Hindi mo pwedeng madaliin dahil door to door na ngayon, inch by inch na yung galaw natin. Na kukaunti na lang yung hawak nilang lugar, pero nandyan pa rin sila. At kung bibiglayin mo, nilalagay mo at risk ang buhay ng sundalo at saka yung mga civilian na maaaring naipit pa sa loob. That's why we need to do this slowly, deliberately, and carefully. And what else?
Okay na sir.
Okay, thank you, Philip.
Yeah. May I just add something, no? By the way, to all the members of the media over the weekend who helped make Father's Day very meaningful for our soldiers, we'd like to pass on our thanks to everyone for providing airtime and what have you for our soldiers to be able to communicate with their loved ones, and at the same time, their loved ones to communicate with our soldiers. And in fact, also for the passing on of the message of the Chief of Staff. In fact, the Chief of Staff's daughter shared something, no? And I'd just like to share it with you. They celebrated Father's Day yesterday with their grandmother, yung tata yata ni Ma'am Oniser, sa 75th birthday niya. And they did it right after the Chief of Staff came from Butuan last Saturday. So they had a late dinner at 10 o'clock. But they could not celebrate Father's Day the following day because the Chief of Staff had to leave again for Indonesia to launch this trilateral. So that's just an indication of our soldiers not being beside their daughters' sons during significant occasions. So we miss many birthdays, we miss many anniversaries just because we want to serve you more.
Okay, last question, Prince.
To Yusek Abella. Sir, the NPA Panay said that they targeted Maasin police station because its personnel allegedly extorted from the local vendors and tolerated the proliferation of illegal drugs and gambling. Should authorities consider this matter and to look into this claim, sir?
Should they look into it? Of course, they need to do that. However, it seems to be ill-timed, don't you think so? You know, there was an agreement that was being signed, so what kind of message does it send? So I suggest that they carefully calibrate their actions.
Sir, may I add?
Yes, sir.
Panis na yung excuse na yun. Wag yun ang pinapatulan. They do this intentionally because of their objective is to get more arms. And one of the reasons they did the attack on Maasin, we know, is because many of our troops went to help in Mindanao. So when the forces were spread thin, they knew that they can do this. They took advantage. That's why we say it's very opportunistic on their part. So I don't know. We shouldn't believe their excuses. They're always a pretense of the real motive, and that's what we should know.
Okay, sir. Sir, on Maute, sir. Sir, following the arrest of 3 Maute members in Iloilo, is there a possibility that the Marawi conflict would spill over to the Western Visayas? Since what with the military operations in Marawi City, some terrorists would probably seek refuge in Visayas or other parts of the country.
Well, there's a possibility of 1 or 2 making it through, but being able to do something in the scale of Marawi, we don't think so. There couldn't be anything like that. And that's why we have strengthened our security along the borders and the areas where they could possibly use as avenues of escape. In the city of Marawi itself, it's locked down na, imposible na talaga makaalis dyan. At yung mga nakaalis dyan earlier, yun yung nagiging problema ngayon na saan sila nagpunta, saan sila pwedeng pupunta, at anong pwedeng nilang gawin. That's why one arrest after the other have been made because we have been able to locate some of them. Case in point is yung si Abu Hadid dyan sa may Cagayan de Oro na nahuli ng 15 na June. Nahuli siya dahil nakadalawang beses na siyang lipat ng tinutuluyan and was using a false ID to cover his true identity. But when he was shown his identity, that we know who you are, he can't deny it. And he shared so much already that has been very valuable in chasing after. But case in point, our other units in every area of Mindanao and nearby islands have been doing a lot or also to protect the communities there. And may I take the case and the example of 4th Infantry Division, who covers Iligan and Cagayan de Oro. They have been conducting, together with their counterparts from the police, over 8,000 checkpoints already since the start of the conflict. So since May 24, 8,752 checkpoints have been established to safeguard the main supply lines and the avenues that could be possibly done. Other than that, they're doing foot patrols everywhere to safeguard communities, and they have done already over 5,087 to be exact, from the date of 24 May to 16 June. And because of these operations, they have been able to arrest 10 individuals who were then filed cases as part of the rebellion and confiscated a number of firearms that were with them. So I show this because it's an indication that your security personnel from the armed forces and the police and other partners are doing their job to do what needs to be done to safeguard our communities in the areas around Marawi. But more than that is, again, I'd like to sound, magsasound na naman ako parang sirang plaka dito, is the responsibility of each and every citizen. Kailangan kabahagi sila. Kailangan yung bawat mamamayan sa lahat ng lugar na to and everywhere in the archipelago, they have to partner with us. You have to be vigilant, alert, and always on the lookout for suspicious characters in your areas. So let that action from government be quick if you are able to provide it. And the best example was Bohol. Just look to Bohol kung ano nangyari doon at nagawa nating ma-resolve yung problema doon na mabilis. Kung lahat ng lugar parang Bohol, na yung local government nangunguna, nakikipag-ugnayan, nakikipagtulungan ng bawat mamamayan, maigi po ang magiging security natin. Hindi sila makakaugat sa bawat lugar na pwede nilang puntahan.
Sir, last question na, sir. Sir, may timeline na ba, sir, kung kailan mawawipe out yung Maute sa Marawi, sir?
Again, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we don't set timelines anymore because of the complexity of the urban environment. So we'll do what we need to do, slowly at first, but what is important is that every armed element inside the city is dealt with.
Okay, thank you, Brigadier General Restituto Padilla. Thank you, Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Abella. Thank you, Malacanang Press Corps. Back to our main studio sa Radyo ng Bayan and PTV.